Hi, and welcome back to our channel. We are VA Central, as you can see in the branding and all our screens, but we are VA Central. We've created this podcast or channel to discuss topics that we are interested in and that we believe are hot at the minute. So let me introduce all of us. My name is Niki Strachan, and joining me is Letia, Snyder, and Jacques Greyling. And yes, so today we are going to have an awesome look at business startups. So each of us have experience in startups, and that's why we've decided to put our brains together and have a proper discussion about it. What is the current market for startups? You know, what advice is there that we can give? What is the future looking like? So before I go too much into what we're going to discuss, let's get the ball rolling. So welcome, Letia and Jacques. Thanks for joining.
Before we dive into it, I wanted to touch on something super exciting, Niki. I know you are currently studying for your MBA, and I just wanted to find out how's that going for you. And I also wanted to find out how did that influence your perspective on startups at all and business in general?
Yes, Jacques, thank you for the question. Yes, so my MBA has been very interesting. I actually, fun fact, do not have a prior degree. I am able to study this MBA just based off of experience. So you have to submit your CV and they basically have a look at your experience. And yes, so business management, I think it was basically last year. I just really realized my passion for business. And I mean, I've said this in the past, when it comes to startups, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I love a startup. I'm a sucker for it. But, you know, in terms of the modules we've covered already, certainly it's started changing my perspective on a few things. Maybe not changing it, but I've just basically gotten more insights and a better perspective on certain topics within the business. For example, if you're looking at sustainability, I mean, sustainability, geez, so all of us here are millennials. Sustainability was started all the way back when we heard that the ice caps were melting and there was global warming, you know, geez, I mean, global warming, that was such a scary topic back in the day. Now it's just kind of something we all know, and this kind of like fact of doom and gloom. But I feel it's not as scary as the topic used to be. But I mean, when you think about sustainability, you think about helping the environment, of course, you know, planting a tree, picking up litter. But, you know, sustainability in terms of business, it's actually can really help your business. I mean, if you set your business up in such a way that it's sustainable to the environment, and economically and socially, you're actually making your business more sustainable in terms of surviving and being able to kind of thrive as a business and be successful. So it goes like very much beyond you know, planting a tree. Sustainability is actually, it's become a part of our culture, and businesses that are embracing sustainability have proven success because of it. So that's one place, you know, where I've started viewing sustainability in a different way, as well as your supply chain. I mean, we went so in depth with your supply chain. You know, do you have the best supply chain? Are you working with, just because the person is cheaper doesn't mean, you know, that you might be reducing service quality, or, you know, it's also important to make sure that your supply chain is sustainable as well. You know, that's also one thing about sustainability, is that if you have a sustainable organization, to call it sustainable, your supply chain also needs to be sustainable. So you can't call a business sustainable if your supply chain isn't. But anyway, long story short, you know, it's definitely given me a deeper perspective into what goes into a business, what can make your business successful. And maybe it's not the old model of back in the day where you get a brick and mortar and you plant your business and you put a price tag on everything and you've got success in your business. We're long past those days. I think the business environment has become so complex, and the more you delve into research and the more you really kind of upskill yourself on what's currently happening in the markets and what businesses are thriving, the better your business will do. And that all comes back down to a startup. But let's go deeper into it as we continue. So the current landscape of startups, we are focusing on the UK. So in 2023, there were approximately 1 million small businesses and startups registered in the UK. Now, this is something I can mention. I feel like startups in the UK, like it does better in the UK. There's more people kind of brave enough to start a business in the UK. Than I have experienced in South Africa. In South Africa, starting a business, it's so scary. You don't want to try it. Where in the UK, what I've found with a lot of people is, a lot of people that I speak to who's doing a startup, they've got this great idea and they're seeing a gap in the market and they're going for it, which is something I really appreciate about the UK market.
I think I agree with you there to an extent, Niki. I think in the UK, I think there's a lot more opportunity for formal businesses, and there's a lot more courage to start a formal business. Whereas I think in South Africa, specifically where I'm from, there's a lot of informal business as well. And I think that's where South Africa really thrives is someone selling fruit from their house or from the next to the road or stuff like that. The entrepreneurship in that sense is really strong here in South Africa. But as far as opportunities are concerned, I think there's so much opportunity in the UK right now.
No, absolutely. And, I do agree with you. I think also this might just be a theory of mine, but I think also in the UK, those that are unemployed have better support. So, if it doesn't work out, you'll be fine, or you'll just find a job, so that probably also contributes to it. But another stat that I'd like to read is startups and small businesses contribute around 50% of the UK's GDP and account for 60% of employment in the private sector. I mean, that figure to me is just mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-blowing. But, also you could ask yourself about the possible challenges, because if it's 50% of the GDP is startups, I mean, you're only a startup for so long.
Yeah.
So it also makes you ask the question, what's happening to the startups becoming existing businesses that are contributing to GDP? It's also something that you need to ask yourself. Jacques, what do you think about that?
Niki, like I said, the startup scene in the UK is absolutely thriving right now. We're talking about an ecosystem that's buzzing with energy, that's innovating, and really they have an entrepreneurial spirit that's hard to match. But here's the thing: it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's a ton of competition, firstly, and the barrier to entry to start a business might be lower than ever. But sustaining and scaling a startup, that's where the real challenge comes in. And so if you're thinking about jumping into the game, you need to be prepared. It's not just about having a great idea. It's about execution. It's about the hustle. Now, I'm laughing because in our previous podcast, we spoke about, the negative side of hustle culture. But when you make the decision to start a business, you should know what you're getting into. It's about willing to put the work in when others are taking breaks. The UK has a ton of resources, accelerators, incubators, funding opportunities, but none of it matters if you're not ready to grind. That's not to say that you should break the balance that you've painstakingly built, but you need to prioritize. because let's face it, there are many, 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 many challenges that you'll need to overcome when starting a business. But let's get specific on that. Why do so many startups fail? Let's use the property industry specifically, estate agents as an example. I think one of the biggest reasons startups fail is a lack of understanding of the market. Estate agents in the UK are facing massive changes with digital disruption. Traditional methods are being challenged by online platforms that offer faster, cheaper, more transparent services. And if you're not aware of these shifts, if you're not adapting, you're already behind. Top of mind is AI. AI, scary. No, AI is not here to replace us, but you will get left behind if you don't use it. A couple of other challenges that we're facing, or that you could be facing, is customer acquisition and retention. Estate agents are competing in a crowded market, and if you're just another name in the sea of agents, you're going to struggle, and you need a unique value proposition. What makes you different? Why should clients choose you over the competition? And once you have clients, how do you keep them coming back? How do you build loyalty? It's all about providing exceptional value and building strong relationships. What are your thoughts on this, Letia?
I just believe that's something that AI will never be able to take over, at least. I wanted to mention, if we look at some of the startups we've recently met with in the last year and a half, Niki, I think the difference between being drained for a boss and being drained for yourself is that your passion comes out and you actually wake up doing what you love because you're doing it for yourself. So it's a completely different drive. And the people that are really standing out are the people that are approaching it completely different as well. They're not following traditional or generic trends that people were used to in the past. They're completely hitting the ball out of the stadium with interesting concepts and interesting approaches, and growing extremely fast within the industry because of the way that they are approaching this. So definitely thinking outside the box is what I feel is the advantage today, but also still having that personal touch. So the ones, I'm not going to mention names, but I'm sure we're all on the same page here now. The ones that are standing out are the ones that are building the most personal relationships with people in the industry already, that are already well known, and constantly sharing that on their feeds, constantly creating awareness, discussing topics that people don't talk about too often. And that's where I'm seeing them boom. So that's definitely one of the key factors I would look at, is no matter what AI can bring in, if you're not going to still be a little bit more personal so people can relate with you, they're still not going to recognize you.
I'd love to add a stat to that as well. About 90% of startups survive their first year, but only around 40% make it past the 5-year mark.
That's crazy. And on that, Niki, I think, look, the key to a successful startup, and I'm saying startup, not business, is solving a problem. It sounds simple, right? But you'd be amazed at how many people miss this. They come up with ideas that sound cool, but that doesn't actually solve any real problems. So, a little bit of practical advice: start by looking around you. What are the pain points that people face every day? Talk to customers. That's something that AI can't do. Get in their heads, understand their frustrations. And that's where the magic happens.
Pain points.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it is interesting that, after the 5-year mark, only 40% are surviving. So, within those 5 years, it means that businesses are dropping off. And, why? Why are they dropping off? Is it staffing? Is it because they are working alone? Is it because, perhaps they were trying to solve, like you said, Jacques, a problem that might not have been such a big problem? Or maybe the market saturated, so definitely in terms of what you said, about having that kind of unique service offering, I think is so vital. You have to have a unique service offering. And this is also something that I want to add. If you are starting a business, when it comes to what makes you different, like, who are you is what people want to know as well. It's not enough having a nice product. And today it's not enough. People want to know, who have you helped? Who are you? You know, what value can I get? What value can I get from working with you and your business? But I definitely think, you know, a big kind of tool that businesses can use is tech in their business, because we have moved away from, you know, just your general brick and mortar setup where someone comes into your business, you give them the product that they're looking for, you give them the service that they're looking for, and they exit the building. We are living in a very digital age. So I'd love to, you know, give a little bit more kind of focus on tech, specifically in the property sector, because we are discussing, you know, estate agency. But Jacques, if you could give us a little bit more insight. Letia, I know you've also got some firsthand experience working in proptech software. So I guess, you know, the both of you, what's kind of your thoughts on tech in startups, and what is the importance thereof?
You know, I think, you know, before we even get to proptech, just something I want to mention is, once you have your idea and once you are solving that problem and you're doing it well and you're making a profit, the next issue that you're going to be facing is scaling. Many startups manage to get off the ground. Like you said, 90% of startups make it through the first year. But after that first year, they hit that wall when it's time to grow. And scaling isn't just about doing more of the same. It's about doing things differently. It's about doing things more efficiently and at a larger scale. And in order to do that, you need the right systems, you need the right processes, you need the right people in place to handle that growth. Because without them, you risk collapsing under that initial success that you've built. So your foundation needs to be strong enough to support that. Letia, do you have any specific proptech tools that you have experience with that estate agents can look at?
Before I discuss the tools that I've worked with or that I know of, I just want to say that with any startup, it takes me back to when I was a kid and I just started hospitality and events and things, and we always focused on the 5 Ps, you know, proper planning prevents poor performance. And, you know, I still believe in that today. And if you look at a lot of startups or clients that I've worked with previously that just joined the industry, it's like they didn't plan properly. They think just having tools in place is going to make them flourish. But if you don't have your website and your SEOs and everything else in place to work with your tools, it's not going to do anything for you. So tools I've worked with, of course, Valpal and MovePal, fantastic valuation tools. One more entry level where, you know, prospective vendor landlord can go online and get an estimate value of their property within 60 seconds. And all of this information goes into a funnel, you know, for the agent to call. Where with the MovePal, they actually have a full-on journey set in place that does most of the work on your behalf. But again, it's just moving from funnel to funnel. And if you don't pick up the phone and book in the appointment and make that personal contact with the prospect, you're still not going to close the deal. So we'll talk about the gold nuggets lying in the funnels, but agents going, oh no, it's not working for me. Okay. Have you found your leads? Do you have your website and everything ready so traffic can be diverted back to that? And a lot of times there's aspects that they're missing or points that they're missing. So there is no like smooth flow almost, you know, like how I love to joke, Niki, about a car, us being a car, doing a business being a car, you're the engine, but without wheels you ain't going nowhere. So it's the same concept for me in startup businesses. You can be the engine, but if you don't have your wheels and your spark plugs and everything else in place, that car's not going to move. And that's something I've noticed a lot, and that I used to just discuss with clients when I was building their tools is, have you got everything else ready? And this is why I see a lot of them failing. The stats that you mentioned earlier, Niki, I wanted to say it was like ticking all the boxes that you asked, is they didn't have resources in place in order for their business to flourish, and they were trying to take too much on themselves. They can't do everything well, even though they think they might. And I appreciate that some people want to do everything themselves. They should just focus on what they're good at and learn to delegate the rest. Have a mean team in place. to help
Yeah, so
them.
I mean, proptech, basically, you know, what you're saying is proptech is not going to do the work for you. It's just a
No.
tool. It
No,
remains a tool,
yes,
just like AI. It's a tool.
exactly.
And it's not supposed to think for you, you know. I mean, in many cases, you can get a lot of ideas from AI. I do it on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, you need to know what your goals are, what you're working towards, and then use AI as a tool, or use proptech as a tool for success. But
Yes.
don't never depend on it
It
to
has to
do
be
the work for you.
proper planning. Yes, I have the tool. Who's going to find it? Am I going to find my leads? Am I driving traffic back to my website? Do they know what properties I've got on the market? Do they know where I am?
Yeah.
A lot of clients that we've discussed this so many times, people that have been on the high streets for 20 years aren't even getting the business anymore because millennials go back online and they want to know you on there. They want to relate to you on there. So even if you have the tool, but you are not active on social media, it will again make them hesitant to use you in future. So again, making sure that all the little bits are covered in order for you to be recognized as an agent or whatever part of the industry that you're in is what's going to drive your business to actually grow and for you to be successful for longer than 5 years.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that proptech, I mean, this is a question I want to pose to both of you. Is proptech needed?
Oh, I would say
Yes,
definitely. Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
again, it's the same with AI. You know, proptech is not gonna do the work for you, but
To make
the
it easier.
agents that's using proptech is gonna go forward, and if you're not using proptech, you're gonna get left behind, because if someone can do something more efficiently, more transparently, of course people are gonna rather go with that estate agent rather than with you.
Yes, it's
So I
streamlining
think,
your business.
yes,
That's where I
exactly.
feel it falls into place perfectly. It's streamlining you to perform
Yeah,
at your best.
I mean, it's a key component to a startup or just a small or any business really. It's one of the key components is being able to utilize these systems.
Absolutely. And you know, the nice thing about proptech, and I don't want to go too much off topic here, but the nice thing about proptech is you get statistics. You get statistics on your business. And that this is also something that, you know, I've been handling in my MBA, but a business that analyzes the data that it has always performs better than a business that does not analyze its data. And you know, we have also, again, we've moved away from this kind of intuition approach. Yes, you do need a percentage of intuition in your business. I'm not saying it's gone out the window, but you also do need to start analyzing the data of your business, and this is just an added benefit of using proptech. And like Letia said, streamlining your processes, because if your competitor is more streamlined than you, then you can't expect to perform as well as them, and they are going to outperform you, and they are going to do better in the market.
Time is money, Niki, always. We always talk about time. Do you know how much time you save that you don't have to go door knocking anymore, like in the old days? Imagine you still had to rely on that form or that approach in order to generate new business, door knocking, landlines and door knocking. The future is proptech. So
time is the most valuable commodity. There's no getting time back. So once you spend it, it's gone.
So Letia, what would you say is because you've touched on that now, you know, what is the key components for a startup to be successful?
I would say the main things to focus on first is your social content, everything that touches proptech, whether it be your social media platforms, your website, having all of that in place, and then having the right resources to help you run that. If you are not the most skilled person on social media, you shouldn't have to sit spending time doing that, but having somebody in place with you in your team that runs it for you, allowing you to grow, focus on fee earning tasks is important. Collaborating with the right people. If you are acquainted with people well known in the industry, and they can help bring your brand out there. That's another way that you will grow faster, especially within your local market. There are so many well-known people in the property industry. In England, the property industry is just so much different. It's like having celebrities. And I mean, we've watched firsthand people that literally just started up grow from being just this person to being so well known in the industry because he collaborated with the right people. So getting that in place, your social media in place, having your staff in place, knowing where your strengths are, and having the rest of it delegated with the proper staff, I think that would be your first key aspects to grow with.
I want to mention more on that. So Letia, okay, of course you've spoken about the staff, you've spoken about socials, you've spoken about collaborating, right? But I want to ask you another question. So I feel like that would be, it is key components for startups to be successful. But I mean, what about the basics? What about the basics in terms of, to be successful? Because, if you're looking at your staff and your socials and your collaboration, someone might be watching this thinking, well, they don't know how to do socials. They can't employ staff because they don't have the money for it. And they don't know anyone in the industry. So what advice would you give them?
Well, starting your basics would be at least making yourself visible. I mean, we all can do the basics on that. We do have guides on social media that shows us how to better ourselves on certain platforms. And then, of course, as soon as you get any leads coming in, that would be their first focus, because as soon as they start generating more income, they'll have more money to spend on all of the other points that we discussed that they need. So focusing on that first would be their lead generation that they can do themselves. So while they're still small, while they're still growing, making sure that they are just consistent on a basic platform, plus finding all the leads as quickly as possible as they come in, and then growing from there. Because as soon as they start selling properties and the money comes in, the more they can grow on that. I think the basics would there be at least just having a proper CRM in place that can help you with your journeys within your workplace right from the start, getting everything in place where it should be, not having 10 different notepads and an Excel spreadsheet. If you have everything in one place, it's already going to save you a hell of a lot of time. I've seen so many clients that started off on little Google Drives and things like that, and then suddenly they're growing and everybody has a bit of information from the company and it's not in one place. And then they have to go from scratch and upload all of those documents from the drive onto the platforms, where if they just started from there from the beginning, everything would have been in one place. And then with the social media side of things, if you have, most of us have a Facebook profile. If you create yourself a little business profile on there, and you at least just start being consistent in your daily postings there, between that and finding some of the leads that are coming in, I can't see why they wouldn't grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Now, thanks for sharing.
I wanted to say something that you're very passionate about is culture. In general, we chat a lot about that in our get-togethers and things like that. Don't you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you think would be going hand in hand with what I said?
Yes, so when it comes to the culture in your business, this is so important. So the thing is, your culture starts with you. If you're a business owner, you need to, you already have culture, you just don't know it. So culture is basically, it's human nature, right? So let's say you're a business owner. Okay. So let me use two examples. So you've got one business owner that is very driven, very organized, a very good communicator, and loves kind of learning and growing. So that that's the one business owner. The second business owner is bit disorganized, doesn't really have a specific goal that they're working towards. Mondays we always start late because we like sleeping in, and maybe communication isn't as strong. That's culture. So without you realizing it, you are creating culture in your business. So of course we want to work towards the first example that I gave. You want to be the example in your team. And that's so important when it comes to company culture. If you want to get the right company culture, you need to lead by example. You have to lead by example. If you are a stressed individual and you are working to overtime, it's going to flow down into your company and into your business. And anyone joining the team is going to feel that stress. Anyone joining the team is going to have an unhealthy relationship with work because you have an unhealthy relationship with work. So company culture, let's say you're an existing company, and or you know, you might be a startup and you've been going for a year or 2 years, and you have maybe 3 or 4 individuals working with you. You still have the ability to influence the culture. Maybe you've started unhealthy with your culture. It's that's not the end all be all. You are able to work on your company culture. And how do you do that? I mean, very importantly, you have to establish the values of your business. This is not just important for your customers, it's important for everyone working with you, because the values of your business is kind of the moral compass of everyone that works for you. And basically, if you kind of set this list of values that you aim to aspire to, your employees will always have that in the back of their mind. You might read it out to them and they might think, oh, well, that sounds like a silly list, or, you know, that they might respond like that to it. But without them knowing, in their subconscious, they know we are loyal, and that will affect how they speak to their clients. We are service oriented, or we always try to help. And automatically it's going to influence how they speak to their clients, how they speak about the business, because you've now basically set the standard. So that's what I want to mention on company culture.
It's like positive affirmations that we say of ourselves daily. It's having those in place for your business.
100%.
It's like our mothers raised us. I am blessed. I am favored. I still believe I'm blessed and I'm favored. And if you stick with that within your business as well, I think that positivity that flows every morning when they, even if you don't say it every day, but it's in the back of their mind, or there's a banner up or a poster that reminds them, you know, it flows through them as well, changes their attitude completely.
And no, it does, you know, and especially, you know, for businesses that do business process outsourcing, where you've got individuals basically working or handling processes in your business that are not working or sitting next to you. In other words, remote workers, you know, it could be tricky to also communicate company culture with them, but it's not impossible. I mean, look at us, not one of us sit in the same building and we've got company culture. So that comes back to, you know, communicating your brand values and getting everyone on board in the team and making sure everyone understands that when they start with the business, this is the values of my business. And whether that's someone that's it might be a remote worker, or it might be another business that's offering you services. Communicate your values to them so that they understand. If you are going to speak to my clients, or if you're dealing with me, this is the standards that I've set for my business. And it just sets a bar for everyone, that they understand when they start with you or when they work with you, they know what to basically, like, they know what they need to aim towards in working with you. I mean, Jacques, in terms of, you know, that remote work, on company culture, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the way you cultivate your company culture can make or break a startup, especially, like you said, when your team is spread out across different locations. And I agree with you that the most important aspect is communication. You need to over communicate when you're remote.
I love that you just brought that up, because it was like something I was going to say afterwards. You
need to make use of tools like Slack or Zoom or Teams. You need to set regular check-ins, you know, one-on-one and team meetings. And it's not just about communicating about the work. It's about connecting on a personal level too. Make time for a virtual coffee or a casual hangout where work talk is off limits. Another thing is recognition and appreciation goes a long way. Celebrate the wins, big and small. Give shout outs in team meetings. Recognize hard work and achievements. As you know, as the leader in a business, you should stalk the out of your employees. Their ex-girlfriend should be nothing compared to you. Because if you see that Jason enjoys a bourbon over the weekend, buy him a bottle to celebrate his win. That goes so much further than just a bonus or something like that, because it's something personal and it shows that you care about them. Building a strong company culture in a remote setting, it's not easy, but it's absolutely doable with the right approach. And remember, it's about creating an environment where your team feels connected, where they feel valued, where they feel motivated, no matter if they're sitting in an office, whether they're sitting in their basement, whether they're sitting in an attic or somewhere at an Airbnb. And I think that's really the key to building a solid company culture with the remote team.
Hopefully they're not sitting in an attic.
Well, I just wanted to say, Niki mentioned the word communication a lot. You just discussed it now again. And again, with everything that you just said, it all comes down to the more you communicate, and on different platforms you communicate, not just with your staff, but with your prospects, the more success you're going to achieve. Communication is like one of the main keys especially in the property industry. Letting clients know where they are in the process, constantly updating them would give them that peace of mind that you're always, putting their needs first, and that's what also will make them come back to you. And then also with communication, celebrating a 1-year anniversary, reminding them, oh, you've been living in your house for a year now, congratulations, will also make them go, oh wow, you've actually remembered. 5 years from now I'm selling again, let me go back to my same agent. It's constantly keeping that communication open, wishing them happy birthday when their kid was sick, checking in a few days, asking if he's okay. It's all these little things that matter, that make people you're not just a client to them anymore, or a service provider. You become a friend, and that's what you want to do. You want to build that friendship.
Yeah,
you do. And I want to add to that, in terms of practical kind of steps you can take to manage your remote team. Another thing, I think is very important is that basically you can have like a core team set up in your business. So this is for anyone that is considering working with a remote worker. Personally, this is how I would do it. I'd have a core team, and then you kind of get support by getting remote workers to handle that support. But I mean, any business is going to need kind of feet on the ground. Well, most businesses actually. And that's basically what I would do practically. Is there anything else you would add to kind of practical steps in getting remote workers, Letia?
If I might add one more thing there, Niki, but when you spoke about culture earlier, being able to change your culture, something that you can teach yourself is to become consistent in your daily life. So if you were kind of flubbering around in the beginning and you didn't know how to do things, or you were late, or you were this or you were that, setting, a day-to-day plan for yourself and sticking to it and becoming consistent, and when you get up and when you do this and when you do that, and eventually it will become second nature, it becomes part of your lifestyle. I think that also changes, the growth of a business really quickly if you learn to do that well. And it's the same with your staff. If your check-ins are consistent and regular, they know every week we're going to discuss this, and they must make sure everything is in place. It becomes a second nature to them as well.
Thanks for adding that, Letia. That's very true. So just before we move over to our closing thoughts, I'd love to just give a little bit more kind of detail or thought towards the future of startups in the UK. So I want to read 2 stats. So number 1, cities like London, Manchester, and Edinburgh are recognized as leading innovation hubs, attracting talent and investment from around the world. And then also second stat, the UK government has introduced various initiatives to support startups, including the Startup Loan Scheme, which has provided over £100 million in funding to more than 75,000 businesses since its inception. So, I mean, both Letia and Jacques, any closing thoughts or any thoughts that you have in terms of the future of businesses in the UK, startups specifically?
Yeah, I think just one thing that I've noticed, or one thing that I want to mention, is I'm just so impressed with the rapid advancements in technology, particularly in areas like AI. I think AI, even fintech and proptech, these are all things that's just going to explode in the near future. And like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, I think if you don't keep up with it, you're going to be left behind so quickly. Another thing, the government's continued support with all the funding, like you just mentioned, and the incentives that they're providing plays such an important role. And the shift towards this remote digital workflow, this digital transformation, it opens up new avenues for startups to explore. Companies that you wouldn't have been able to start locally, you can now all of a sudden start on a global scale out of your basement. And it's so easy to do.
Or your attic.
Yeah, or your attic. There you go. Yeah, I think the UK remains this hub for entrepreneurial activity. And with this robust system, this robust ecosystem in place, the potential for growth and success is just mind-blowing.
It's endless.
Yes.
Letia?
I've got my 5 cents, and I think it just goes, it's pretty much about everything we discussed today, and especially what you mentioned at the beginning, people focusing on starting businesses because they feel that there's a lack in the market, or it's something that everybody needs. Just because they need it, if you don't enjoy it, it's not going to work for you. So make sure that when you do start up a business and you do feel that's something that the market might need, that you actually enjoy getting up for it, because I do believe that that's more important than the gap in the market. If you're going to do something basic that there might be plenty of in the market, but you're passionate about it, people are going to come to you as well. So yeah, just make sure it's your passion. Please don't do something that you don't enjoy, because that's why some of those companies only last 4 to 5 years. They most likely hate what they do.
So closing thoughts. I mean, Letia, would you say that's your closing thoughts, like the last note you'd like to say?
Love what you do. Absolutely. I can be so sick with flu that I can barely speak, but I'll still be at work because I've got FOMO and I love what I do. And that's, I think, one of the perks we have about working from home is I can't make any of you sick, because that would most likely be the only reason I wouldn't go to work. Because even when I don't feel great, or, we go through things in life, I still wake up loving my job and loving my team. And that's what drives me. So I do believe that's one of the most important aspects when it comes to starting your business. You have to love what you do. If you love it and you believe in it, other people will love it and believe in it. So,
Jacques?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so important that you love what you do. I think that is one of the most important things that you can have is a love for your profession or your career or your business. But it's also so easy to lose hope if things doesn't immediately work out for you. So I think it's important that you keep in mind that it is about the long game, and that success doesn't happen overnight. If you put in the work and you stay true to what you started off with, I think the road to success is going to be easier for you than if you started with not liking what you do, or just doing it for one reason, just doing it for profit or something like that. It's about learning from your failures, and it's important that you celebrate your wins, no matter how small it is. Every milestone that you reach, you should be celebrating it. You don't have to waste money on it, but you definitely need to celebrate it, and you need to continue pushing forward.
Thanks for that, Jacques. And, I'd also just to love to add my last notes. And, especially when it comes to you want to do a startup. Let's say you're in that phase and you're excited, you've got this idea. Certainly, I would just recommend, research. Do your research, do your due diligence. Number one. Number two, you need to understand that it's going to be a baby.
Yes.
Babies need a lot of nutrition. They need a lot of holding and cuddling. Sometimes
And
they
you would
wake
be
you up in the
sleeping
middle of the
less.
night.
Let's not forget that part.
You can see we're mothers.
Yes.
But a business is a baby, and it first, before a baby is going to run, because your idea is your business running. Remember that is the vision for your business. It's not the starting point. So really have a look at your expectancies, and so that you can manage your hope. Because I think a lot of business owners, they start with this really great idea, and then they just realize that, why is it not picking up like I thought it would? Why is it not going like I thought it would? And it's because they thought that it's going to reach the vision points at a much earlier stage. So just go in with a realistic mindset that it's going to be a baby, and you're going to have to raise that baby.
Hence us talking
how
about
quickly-
growing pains, Niki. Growing pains. They exist in every form of life.
They do. And growing that baby, some grow quicker than others in the business world. Not not real babies. But if you're looking at the business world, the amount or the speed of growth that you're going to experience will also be dependent on you. Now, there's two things I do want to mention here. Don't be careful of growing too quickly. You don't want to grow too quickly. You want to do it at a steady pace. And then second thing I want to say is, don't grow too slow. You can also stunt your own growth by, wanting to maintain control over everything. And you might stunt your own growth by being scared to try new things. So that's my closing note, is just be prepared for steady growth.
Can I add one thing with you on that point, if you don't mind? Before I forget. When we have catch-ups with Christian as well, which is like almost a life coach for us, if anybody wonders. When we talk about our goals for the year, he actually goes deeper and he says, what are your vision and your goals? And you actually don't just have a goal, you need to understand the little aspects of that goal. And once you start envisioning what you really want, it's when you really start working towards it. But it also has milestones in place, and it's the same with your business. So you know the end result, and you know how much of whatever you want in that end result. But every end result has a milestone. So how long will it take you to reach that first end result? That will obviously make part of the bigger picture. But setting that in place and having these milestones or targets in place is also going to help you to not create unrealistic expectations for yourself, because you don't want to discourage yourself by thinking it's going to move so much faster than it would. And it also kind of just keeps you in line and makes you realize that Rome wasn't built in a day. So yeah, anyways.
And that's it. That's our discussion on business startups. It's honestly such a big topic. I mean, we could go much deeper into it. I think, just talking on startups, you can talk for hours. But these are the points we really wanted to cover today. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss a future discussion that we'll have, then make sure you subscribe to our channel. And please comment below if you've learned anything, or if you've got any other suggestions on videos that you'd love for us to make. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's it. Thanks, Letia. Thanks, Jacques. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Bye-bye,
We'll
guys.
see you next time. Bye.
Bye.